May I ask you what this is? Sorry? Right, wonderful. And may I ask you what that is? Wonderful. Those two are actually the same thing. It only depends on how you look at them. I'm Vera, the co-founder of Mimycri. Together with refugees, we transform these broken rubber boats into bags and backpacks. And I have the honor to be here to share with you the story of how changing perspective changed my life and how it can change yours. So my story begins in the summer of 2015. It was the peak of refugee arrivals in Europe and in Germany. And Germany is not that famous for its hospitality, but that summer it somehow made a different impression. At the train stations all over the country, people were welcoming people into their new lives in a safe place. They were handing out pet toys for the kids and air balloons for everyone. I did the same. I remember the very moment I was standing at the Berlin train station cheering like a football fan in the stadium. I wanted to be part of that new Germany that welcomes people who have lost their belongings, their homes, and sometimes even their families. But when you followed the news in 2015, you also saw that people were not only arriving in Germany, but also on the Greek islands. And friends told me that help was most needed there. So like many others, I decided to pack my bags and go to the Greek island Chios. I traveled to Chios via Turkey because it was cheaper than going through Athens. And I took the ferry from Izmir to Chios. It took 30 minutes and cost 15 euros. I had a beer on the ferry and a little nap. It was the same route that many people take fleeing. And only that day pay 1,000 euros to a human trafficker for boarding an overcrowded dinghy at night, not knowing whether they would arrive on the other side alive or not. Arriving in Chios, there was not really much time to adapt, and we jumped immediately into work. My best friend Nora decided to come as well, and together we joined the Chios Eastern Response Team, a group of volunteers driving up and down the shore, spotting boats to guide them to safe places to arrive on the islands. Sometimes that worked, as you can see here, but sometimes it didn't. I remember one night when we were spotting a boat heading towards a fenced military zone. Not only was it heading there, it actually hit the rocks in front of it. All we could do was stand there and wait. And after what seemed to be hours, the gates opened, and around 40 wet and soaked people were walking silently in line towards us. We handed them dry clothes and food and drinks. One 9-year-old girl had serious hypothermia, all of them blue lips and icy fingers. And I remember a woman sitting next to me not stopping crying, and when I tried to calm her down, she handed me a bundle, a wet blanket. And I thought, why did she take a wet blanket on a boat? It's completely useless, it's wet and heavy. And in the rush of the night, I just put it away. But when I turned around again, she was again sitting there holding the bundle, crying. So we unfolded it. And inside was a baby. It was a tiny baby. And I learned that she was the mother of this baby who had given birth 2 days earlier at the Turkish shore. She was too afraid to open the bundle, not knowing whether her child would still be alive or not. The baby was wet and it was cold, but it was alive. Later in the refugee camp, we learned that one girl from the military base boat had never made it to the shore. The police was investigating the 15-year-old boy who was steering the boat and who had never been on water before in his life. Both mothers sat next to each other, crying. These experiences and moments nearly paralyzed us, and we felt totally overwhelmed with the things that we saw and experienced there. But there were other moments as well. Moments when people come off the boat and they hand you their cell phone to talk to their mother in Syria to say hello and that they made it to the shore. People going down on their knees, praying for the luck they had. I remember one man in his 40s, he was sitting on the floor. He wasn't able to stand on his feet because he was emotionally so overwhelmed. He was laughing, and at the same time, he was embarrassed about the tears of joy in his eyes. So Chios, for the people arriving, is really a point of transformation. It's a point where they are arriving and coming from something and turning towards something. It's a point where the fear and the struggle is supposed to end, and the hope is supposed to begin. So talking with Nora about all the experiences that we made and how to deal with this situation that we felt we couldn't really change anything about, we noticed that this connection of fear and hope was so powerful to us, and that we wanted to somehow make a contribution in order to do our bit to transform the fear into hope. And to be honest, the first approach to that was quite modest and pragmatic. We collected some money and bought a washing machine. With that washing machine, we could reuse the clothes that were before thrown away because they were lying wet on the beaches. And with the money that we collected that way, it was contributed to build a house for children. Obviously, that didn't change the overall situation at all, but it made us realize that simply from changing the perspective on a wet pile of clothes, we could do a little tiny bit to alter the situation, a little bit. And that felt incredible. And it gave us the energy to continue and to think about how, although we can't solve the entire context, to find a little example, a little action that we could do to create hope out of fear. So part of the job working there as volunteers was to clean the beaches from the garbage that was left after people arrived. And we already reused the clothes, but there was also the rubber boat material. And one day, working at the beaches, we realized that we would have not to stop with washing clothes. There was actually more potential for transformation. And we took a piece of that rubber boat material and gave it to a friend of ours. And he gave us this bag. I don't think it would win any fashion prize, but for us it was the most beautiful thing in the world. It resembled the idea that something bad can be turned into something good, that something that is perceived as negative, you can also find some aspects of positivity in it. Something that was seen as trash and had no future suddenly is something new with a new future. So back in Germany, we were thinking and talking a lot of how cool would it be to make more of those? How cool would it actually be if it's not about making bags and selling them, but actually about the message that they spread? And how cool would it be if we could work together with people who newly arrived in Germany and show their amazing talents that they can so rarely prove? But there was a lot of talking, and nothing really happened much until we applied for the German Integration Prize. And at New Year's Eve 2016, we received a message saying, "You're in. You have 2 months to put together a crowdfunding campaign, and the project with the most supporters wins. Good luck." Very happy, and we were also a little bit shocked. So the first thing we did was to put up this Facebook post, trying with our smiley faces to convince people that it would be a good idea to join us and help us make those bags. And then we found him. This is Abid. Abid is from Pakistan, and he flew from there from a very insecure situation. And he took the same boat that we are working now with. He came to the first meeting, and he brought his amazing sewing skills. From there, we went step by step by step. We needed a prototype, we needed a website, we needed a place to work, and we needed a name. So we decided to call the project mimycri. It derives from a phenomena in nature where animals and plants pretend to be something else, so they're not eaten. So what you see here, is it a butterfly or is it a leaf? Is it a broken rubber boat that's waste, or is it a future bag? Is Abid a refugee, or is he my new colleague who's not only way better at sewing, but also at cooking than me? So now the non-profit association mimycri employs Abid and other refugees. We found a beautiful space that we work in. We go there every day. Our dream has become reality. And mimycri basically has become our metaphorical washing machine. So mimycri so far has transformed the lives of everyone involved in it. Of Ellie and Abid, who now could move out of their refugee shelters into their new homes, who speak German now, who, very important to the Germans as well, are paying taxes, who can now invite their friends over for dinner, which I think to them matters a bit more than the tax-paying part. But it also has transformed Nora's and my life, insofar that we decided to quit our well-paid jobs to continue on this idea of transforming the unwanted to the wanted, and of showing how changing perspective can open up new possibilities. And we hope to change perspectives of many people that are engaged with our project, not only of the German president, but also of people who hear about us and who hear about their idea. So this is not exactly how we look every day when we work, although it would be nice. It's actually really challenging, and we feel like we're failing all the time. We send out 50 applications for funding, and we get one response. It's a negative one then, often. We think we sell around 50 backpacks a month, and then we sell 15. And we're terribly afraid of failing. But it's not about not being afraid. It's about doing something although you are afraid. And if you believe in your ideas, many will criticize you. It's always easier to criticize than to do something. But you will find more people who will believe in your ideas as well. Mimycri today wouldn't exist without the amazing help of so many different people. Tax advisors who donate their time and expertise, volunteers in Greece who collect the material and send it to Germany, people with wealth that provide long-term planning. Each one of us has skills in order to create the world that we are dreaming of. So I would like to encourage you to find your washing machine, to find the thing you're passionate about, and to do it. If there's something you talk about with your friends over a glass of wine, don't stop talking about it. Do the first step. The others will follow. And if you leave this place today, I hope that you already start seeing things in a different way, to focus more on what connects us instead of what separates us, to focus more on the chances than on the challenges, to see a social business in a broken rubber boat. Thank you very much.